he nailed the apathetic genital viewing.
No one else has had to go like, all right, give me your best staring at a dick unwillingly and having to give faint approval. Like what other movie scene that's that? Like okay, all right. That sure is your penis.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
What's up, everybody? All right.
Yeah.
One fucking hour time. Oh, man. Ugh.
This is not your mom's one fucking hour.
Not at all. All right. Of course, this is the show where we talk about one goddamn movie for one fucking hour. I'm Evan Husney. And of course, to my left, we got Big T, Tom Fitzgerald. T, how's it going? What's going on, man?
Just keeping it hardcore, as always.
That's right. Absolutely. And over to the right, my right, we have, of course, coming back here, Mr. Marcus Herring. Marcus, what's going on, man?
Easy, compadre.
Oh, hot off the heels. Hot off
He's
the
not
heels.
done with two Corys.
No, he is not. It was Marcus's birthday last week. Shout out. We did an incredible episode on the Two Corys reality show for Marcus's birthday. That was a lot of fun. So
Go Corey.
Have a blast. What's up with that new intro song? It sounds like it's been drinking, you know?
yeah. It's crazy, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty,
I mean, like, obviously tonight, let's just talk about what we're doing. Tonight, of course, is episode 138, and we are doing, finally, much requested, much DM'd, and people have wanted us to cover this movie for
It's a short lister of ours.
Of course, but there's a fervent audience out there who was clamoring for one fucking hour on Hardcore, which we're doing, Paul Schrader's film. But as we're watching the movie, Tom, we both kind of figured out that it's a little eerie, right? Like,
yeah. So I got goosebumps. So, I'm rewatching Hardcore this afternoon, and I was like, wait. The montages of him on Hollywood Boulevard, cruising around when he hits L.A., George C. Scott, is like, wait a minute, the sound of it, like sleazy, rock and rolly instrumental, and all these just B-roll pickup shots of like weird Hollywood Boulevard locations in the middle of the night as you're kind of driving by.
Yeah.
And I went, it's just like our fucking intro. You know? It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It really is.
So I did a little, cranium work here, and I said, so we cribbed the song, our usual
reveal. It's a big reveal.
Hey, all right, get ready, guys. Your prayer's been answered. It is from Don't Answer the Phone.
That's our theme song. Yes.
Perfect. Theme song is cribbed from Don't Answer the Phone, 1980.
Yeah.
And it's this incredible instrumental music when the killer is cruising down Hollywood Boulevard.
Right.
And there's pickup shots of the corners and the people running around on the street of Hollywood Boulevard in that film.
Right.
And it was made months after
this movie.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
So I'm certain that the filmmakers of Don't Answer the Phone just watched Hardcore and went, oh, the sleazy rock and roll at night cruising down Hollywood Boulevard. So, it's inspired by, so that gives me chills. That's the origin of the vibe when we open the show every week is inspired by this film, Hardcore.
Unbelievable. So, so tonight, of course, we're getting into Hardcore. Very exciting to do a Paul Schrader flick because, I mean, we've covered Taxi Driver before in the archives. We've never gotten into one of Paul's films. I feel like when we did that one series where it was like, we're picking movies that corresponded with the year they were made and the episode number from our show. There was a few of his films. Blue Collar, I think, was one that didn't win a poll.
They were in the polls, yeah.
They were in the polls, so that was something. So here we are. But we're gonna finally do a Paul Schrader flick, and it's gonna be Hardcore. I think the perfect one to start with. So we're gonna get into all that. But before we do, I want to give a quick shout out to the one fucking hour Patreon. Patreon.com/one fucking hour. is the best way to support the show. If you sign up for just $5 a month, gives you instant access to all of our bonus episodes, 24-hour early access to every single episode. You can be the early bird special there. We have audio commentaries up there and other wacky shit, and there's chat rooms and stuff. So if you want to get up there, just $5 a month. Best way to support the show, keep us going, keep the lights on. But there's an ulterior
helping support our cutter.
Oh yes,
has been helping.
We got a clipper. We got a clipper.
Our little videos that drop here and there.
Right. Yeah, he's not a cutter. He's a clipper. Yeah, but he is.
Maybe he's both.
But
that's how we're helping him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we are helping him. But he is, doing our clips for us up on Instagram and YouTube. Thank you very much, Ian. And so it keeps him fed and his family going at the same time. But if you want all your bonus content up on YouTube instead of Patreon, you can just go to our channel homepage, find the join button, click that, and become a Moment of the channel. Just $5 a month, same price, same benefits, same perks. And we appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for all the support. And it's been a blast. It's been a blast. So, and we will have a new bonus episode, I'm sure, in due time. So thank you, everybody. All right, the 1 fucking hour Patreon. All right, guys, are you ready just to get into this fucking week's movie?
Yeah.
Should we get into it? Should
we, as they say, start the clock?
I think it's time to
start the clock.
All right, so
I love that. That's my favorite thing.
I know that's the best part of the show, right?
The show's like it's like a 4% real time.
It is. It's 4% Mar.
5,
5 Mar. All right, everybody, here we go. Locked and loaded. Clock's getting ready to start. Here we go. Watch it. Oh, all right. As customary here on the show, going to read just a synopsis for the film tonight. Okay, Hardcore from 1979 is a gritty drama directed by Paul Schrader. The film follows Jake Van Dorn, that's, of course, starring George C. Scott. He plays that character. A devout Calvinist, which we're going to get into for those who might not know what that is. A businessman from Grand Rapids, Michigan, whose teenage daughter mysteriously disappears while on a church trip to California. After the police investigation stalls, Jake hires a cynical private investigator named Andy Mast, of course played by Peter fucking Boyle, who's always welcome in any movie he shows up in, as far as I'm concerned, who uncovers that the girl has entered the seedy underworld of the Los Angeles porn industry. Determined to find her, Jake dives headfirst into this world, posing as a producer undercover and navigating strip clubs, adult film sets, and peep shows. His moral rigidity is tested as he confronts not only the depravity of the environment, but the complexities of his daughter's choices. Along the way, he teams up with Nikki, a young prostitute who helps him understand the industry and his daughter's possible motivations. The film crescendos in a tense emotional confrontation between father and daughter that challenges Jake's notions of love, control, and redemption. Hardcore is a haunting exploration of repression, the clash of values, and the dark corners of American culture. So there you go.
Not
Hardcore.
Bad.
Yeah, not bad. This is Paul Schrader's second film. Of course, he did the movie, as I mentioned earlier, Blue Collar, which is something I'm sure we're going to cover at some point.
We got to do that, yeah.
Yeah, but this is a very interesting film. We mentioned before we started recording that it's hard not to think about Taxi Driver while you're watching this because, it is kind of this, obviously Travis Bickle is very different than George C. Scott's character, Jake, but the idea of that there's this whole other seedy, dirty world, this whole secret world over here that's now becoming more pervasive.
Right. And a sweet, virginal young girl has gone into the depths of this hell, this human man-made hell,
right?
Of being despicable behavior,
right?
And they need to be saved. And Schrader was definitely riffing off of a huge inspiration. The Searchers,
yes,
the 50s Western with John Wayne. Natalie Wood is the girl who's kidnapped by the in this case the bad thing here is the Injuns.
Yes,
Native Americans who are like weird and scary and long haired and have different cultures, different culture. And so, yes, and I got to say, his script for Taxi Driver in this film riff off of that general theme.
Yes.
So you can't but compare them in that way too.
It's a theme he kind of returned to in other ways too. Like it's like a guy has to go into some seedy culture to seedy underground American thing to like avenge himself or avenge his family, like because you were Rolling Thunder as well, which is also like, like having to go avenge his family and like sort of like Tijuana underworld, and American Gigolo too is kind of like that in a way too. It's like where he gets goes into the whatever, he's got to kind of clear his name, but he goes into this underworld to do the similar thing. So it's like one guy versus some seedy underworld type thing.
And it's funny, I was just thinking like Lost Highway gets a little like this too in a way. Not that there's any redeeming savior, but that there's like go down into the depths of hell and you're going to meet like, like Marilyn Manson with a dildo and stuff. It's like, you know what I mean? That's this film is of a, that kind of.
Well, this film, it's you're going to meet Rattan. Right, is who you're going to meet.
The snuff movie maker, extraordinaire.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder what the origin of that story is. Is it like Voltaire or something? Like the 7 stages of hell, like someone going to the underworld. What? I wonder. There's some sort of like, classical reference that everyone is like
riffing on. Even but like before what is the Searchers maybe influenced by?
Right.
Yeah, totally. If I might, I one other thing that's been on my mind as I rewatch it, it's hard not to do it, is the upbringing of Paul Schrader.
Yeah.
We're talking about this Calvinist faith that George C. Scott and his whole family are living under.
Which we see is like depicted in the early, the first 5 minutes of the movie through these great establishing shots and just showing you this whole other world. Yeah, it's amazing.
The whole world, Thanksgiving with the family and prayer and all that stuff, and turning off that sinful, like variety show of like dancing, singing Santa Claus and stuff. But the thing that always gets me, I'm no expert about the Calvinist religion at all, but I do know enough because Schrader's many times gone on the record and said that because this is how he was raised. He was raised in this faith that's depicted in this film.
Right.
And it's from all indications, it's a very extreme, severe version of Christianity. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's the kind of religion where a little boy comes home from school and he's whistling. And he's immediately punished, and you have to spend 12 hours in the basement, no dinner.
Wow. Yeah.
Like just going it's that might actually be true. I might have
that
read
level of control.
It's that kind of thing. Yeah. So just extrapolate that to like masturbation or anything,
You're dead. Yeah, exactly. And I think there's one thing too, which I think is the sort of Schrader spin on this whole thing is like, obviously, in this film, you're seeing through this, verite and very restrained filmmaking. We're sort of showing, the life of this family in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and the whole, their whole upbringing and everything and their ethos. And then, of course, later into the film, we get into the seedy underworld of Los Angeles, San Diego, and so forth. But I think what he's trying to do in this film is sort of show the similarities in some ways. You might think they're so different, but they both can be isolating. They both can be prisons in their own way. And of course, many times in the film too, yes, George C. Scott thinks this whole world is very vulgar, but he's the one who's bringing in all of the rage and all of the violence into that world. And he's finding
the wrath.
Yeah, there's this, I'm sure we'll get into it much more, but it is pretty shocking in this film that you see sort of really the pinnacle moment once he's infiltrated that world and he goes to the depths and he finds out that his daughter is literally gone into the heart of darkness, not just
hanging out with snuff filmmakers.
Yeah, not just making porno flicks. She's associating with snuff filmmakers, and you're meeting this Rattan guy and this whole thing. And we see that like George C. Scott in this movie watch a snuff film. That is a scene in this movie, which is pretty wild.
Yes. And if you ever get that trivia question, Trivial Pursuit, what film did George C. Scott watch a snuff film? There you go.
Yes, exactly.
Hardcore.
It's amazing. Right. So you see that, right? You see him watch that movie, and then the scene that follows that right after that is when he goes back to the hotel room, finds Nikki, and then now he's got to find his daughter, and he's going to beat it out of her, regardless. And so it's like seeing violence and then perpetrating violence, and just the similarities of the world. And I think he's constantly contrasting that and sort of making the parallels between all of it.
Well, I think something it's not as maybe the film deals with it enough, but maybe it should be considered more as what is going on with the daughter.
Yeah.
And I've been I've been looking up like child psychology lately for some reason.
Oh, and
like, well, we're all victims of whatever the psychological makeup from like our parents essentially is. And there's so I was saying like Calvinist religion, and Paul Schrader's pretty famous as a very dinged up, damaged guy. He was Travis Bickle.
Yes, right.
That was like autobiographical. Like he was up all night on pills and drinking and watching porno and driving a taxi. So he was really damaged, and he's still probably pretty dinged up. But I want to add another thing. There, Gigi Allen was raised. Hear me out. Gigi Allen was raised by someone his father was like more severe, like too severe for the Calvinists, but he was essentially raised in that kind of thing, like chew gum and you're like, you will break your finger, like that kind of thing. Like, so of course, Gigi Allen, as we all know, is highly damaged, and essentially was his upbringing. So we're all victims in one way or another, or at least the result of the childhood psychology of how our parents raised us, from great to okay to bad. And so what I'm saying is, to the point is, and this is the heart of this is right at the very end when they have a conversation, him and his daughter. We'll get into it later more, but like, it's not that much of a leap to consider that she would go from this very uptight place that's very weird about sexuality specifically, and probably about like female freedom also, and by extension, and that like this probably isn't it's probably happened specifically. It's probably not remarkable that a girl raised in a very conservative upbringing would go absolutely nuts and do like orgies and porno. And in fact, the stripper girl, Susan Hubley, great performance.
Oh, fantastic.
She reads this. She's like, oh, your daughter's one of these types. Like I've seen this. Yeah. It's like every other girl on the street is like this. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. Go ahead, Marcus. Sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah. I felt that Nikki's like place in some ways was to help George C. Scott's character understand his daughter, like in advance of, like, she kind of speaks for her in a way, like to us, so we can kind of understand how she ended up there. But it's the end. I mean, the ending is, she says like, that he didn't love her, she didn't feel loved by him. And he's like, he's exploring his own upbringing. Like I didn't know how to express love.
Yeah, exactly.
That probably is like, that seems like a bigger thing than like all the sex and stuff, that she was just looking for that family and love. And like Schrader said Schrader said he cast that actress because he felt she wasn't beautiful in the traditional sense. So he felt that like she looked like someone who would be susceptible to flattery and could get kind of sucked into that world. So for her, it probably is like not even about sex. It's just belonging to that family thing. But it is weird. That does kind of help explain how it all gets cinched up so quickly at the end too, because he's kind of like, he's like, come back with me, and she does, and I feel like in real life she would really be like on drugs or something too.
It would take longer. Yeah.
But
I will say this:
she's also like, you drove all my friends away. I mean, he literally just killed her newest friend, like outside or whatever.
Exactly. So, she knows in the back of her mind these people are bad news. No, but the thing is, he there's evidence that he loves her so much because he's fighting for her.
Right.
He went all the way to hell. That's a theme going on in that stuff too, where it's like you've proven yourself, Father, that you do love me because you've taken this extreme action that threatened your life. That's like ending lives. It was a great risky thing. That almost sounds like a Greek Roman mythology kind of thing. He went down there and saved her, and that to her is enough evidence to realize like, you really do love me, because otherwise what is she getting is positive reinforcement, because it's all probably very cold and formal and like rigidly Christian, so
right. It would be nice if it was like explored a little bit better or executed a little bit better.
Well, if it had a little more,
felt those things.
No, I do agree with that. I like how we're starting with the ending of the film and unpacking it.
Well, but it speaks for the no. I think it speaks to the beginning of the film.
It does.
Because you're going full circle with her, the character, the girl.
Yeah. So, but and it is, and when you are, in that last moment, it's very clear she is sort of searching, for this affection that she's not getting through this very hostilely rigid upbringing that she does have. And of course, by proxy, Nikki is sort of someone who's like that too. She sort of, I think the relationship she has with George C. Scott is somewhat looking for that, that psychological father figure sort of person
Absolutely.
as well too. So we're kind of
Absolutely
getting that. But man, in that ending moment, George C. Scott, man, is so fucking good at playing a bereaved father. Like you see it on his face and just how long he takes to make his just all those subtle moments where he just has the head in his hands. He doesn't rush it. He plays it like at a perfect pace, a very realistic pace. And then his character, it's great. He kind of owns up to the fact that like through going through all of this crazy shit that he's been through, he's like, I didn't know how to show you love, like you said, Marcus. And, he's, from probably his upbringing, and it's this cyclical
right. It's
thing,
a cyclical thing,
exactly, or whatever. So, so that's,
right. So then going back to the beginning of the film.
Yeah, let's do it.
It is so shocking to consider that she's going from 0 to 60, or 0 to 100.
Because
but I think that, but I bet it happens like right now.
Sure.
Like you hear about that kind of stuff, like Catholic upbringings, and how, because they're getting weird. And let's get specific. It's like getting weird about sexuality and a young person feeling like having all these feelings, and like they're being told that it's worse than wrong. You're going to go to hell. You're bad.
Right.
You're dirty. Especially for a female. So.
Well, how about this?
She's just going against that.
Yeah.
And going too extremely against because she was extremely repressed.
Yeah, and isn't there also the explanation like later on in the film? Which there's these great moments where you see, while George C. Scott is like when the film sort of becomes a buddy film, which I love. Between
San Diego scenes,
San Diego, where you have George C. Scott and the Nikki character hanging out, and they get into these sort of theological conversations about religion and everything, and that's some of the best shit. And and there's a moment where he's explaining Calvinism to her and mentions like, baseline, you're like a terrible person, or whatever. It's like you start as a terrible person.
All of us are. Every human
all of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
but
it's
then
like,
there's only certain people that are selected by God to go to heaven in advance.
Yeah.
So like he's predestined to go to heaven.
That's
and
convenient.
Nikki is predestined to like go to hell or whatever.
Exactly.
I think she could do.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's and then of course how that plays out into their relationship in the end too. It's like, okay, great, you found what you needed here, and now I'm just here, and I'm gonna go to hell, I guess.
Yeah.
Listen, what you're referring to me, the end of the film is Nikki's face full of disappointment and kind of resentment and like frustration and sadness when she just looks at George C. Scott and looks at his face and goes like, I'm never going to see this guy again. And we're not going to be connected. And I've lost this potentially good person in my life. And I'm going to go back with this scum of the earth shitheads.
Yeah.
And she just looks she's like so broken, and she just rushes away. And he knows too. It cuts to George C. Scott going like, I know, you're going back to hell, girl, and great performance. I want to shout out I don't think Susan Hubley gets any then and now.
No. Right.
It's a great performance. It's a tough performance. She's up against George C. Scott. But the one thing in the philosophy back and forth they were having that really got me is specifically back to like sexuality, and it's very well written. Paul Schrader.
Yeah.
And she says to George C. Scott, like, what's funny? We're alike about sex. You hate it and you don't do it. And she's like, I hate it. I don't care about it so much that I do it to anyone,
Yeah, right.
with
right,
it. So,
right.
And so then, and there really are akin. And that's the kind of conversation and those kinds of parallels where
That's what I'm saying.
like deep ancient human faith is meeting like 1979 modernity and that friction, and how they're both sort of falling short in their own way, you know what I mean, and are disappointing for like an individual person's mental health, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
and
tough.
the way that they can have these deep sort of philosophical moments and that have so much weight to them, and it can be natural. It's something that just seems like doesn't happen much in film these days. When people launch into a philosophical thing, it's so heavy handed these days, and they say so much with so little here. And I mean, Schrader's ability to do that and to bring his own personal life into this story.
Yes.
It really makes this, which is basically like you said, a cowboy movie plot. It gives it so much more depth that it's like, he brings in like George C. Scott's like basically his dad,
Yeah.
and like, and the daughter is basically Paul Schrader, going off to Hollywood,
absolutely,
to make movies.
Yeah.
Living in sin. In 1972, who was living in sin in LA with hookers and pills and alcoholism and sleep deprivation? Keep in mind, folks, Paul Schrader was Travis Bickle.
Right. Yeah.
Because he was so damaged, but he got through the hell through creativity, I assume, and some hard work. But I guess we could keep going back to the beginning as we move forward in this because of the culture clash.
We should.
It's obviously a huge theme. So this poor gal goes to Knott's. Oh, please.
Oh, sorry. I just to sort of set the stage. I know I mentioned I love it, but it's just that sort of Norman Rockwell opening is
Precious
so,
Memories.
Yeah.
Song.
Right. Exactly. It's so well it's so well done in terms of it's very funny because just reading through some things about this movie, it's funny, like he got a lot of flack for his direction on this film. Like George C. Scott hated his directing abilities. John Milius, who was involved in the project at one point, hated Paul Schrader's direction.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Oh, hold on, I need to for that.
He said, George C. Scott said, "You're a terrible director, and this movie is a piece of shit."
Yeah, that's right. That's the quote.
But John Milius is like Big Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Legendary.
Right, exactly.
Come on, dude. Lighten up, bro.
No, totally. But I find that funny, and I wonder where that criticism comes from. Because was there an expectation that he's should have been more showy? Because Scorsese's pretty showy. Let's be real. It's Mean
big,
Streets,
grand cinema.
Taxi Driver. It's lush,
operatic. Taxi Driver is operatic.
No, it is, and it's got
way.
all the cutting techniques and the moves and everything. Are they sort of expecting him to do something like that? Where I think it's very interesting, and of course, if you've seen what is that? First Reformed? Is that the film he did with Ethan Hawke? Whatever recently. You didn't see it? Oh, it's good. It's good. Okay. But his whole approach is very restrained. And it's very spare and unshowy, and it sort of to me feels like, especially in this first 15 minutes, more like a like a European film or like a.
Well, his favorite director is Bresson.
All right, Bresson or Dreyer or Romer even.
Right.
It feels like these very still frames, especially the church scenes and everything. It really feels like a European
and
film.
It's just so unfair to compare it to Scorsese.
I know.
I do it too. You just do that with hardcore. You just can't help it because we were said in the beginning similar plots and everything. But but yes, let's talk about the opening because it's a succession of picture postcards of Norman Rockwell life, and he does a really nice job. He all these great choices. I've got all these stills here. I'm looking at it. Like every frame. It's like the kids around the turkey.
The turkey stuff is amazing.
Posing for the Christmas photo with the Christmas stocking stuff, and it's like, but what he does, this is tricky because more of an asshole-ish person, like kind of a John Watersy adjacent kind of person, would have been like, look at these stupid assholes and their ritual, like a National Lampoon take on it. But there's heart in those scenes because. Yeah. Because and that's that's the first thing you see in the film. And here's my little soapbox thing, just 2 seconds, and open up to you guys what you think. Something happened in the 70s, unlike other decades before, is God dies.
Yeah.
And George C. Scott's world, quote unquote, dies on the large pop social scale. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's just, he's gone. Nothing quite replaced it. So everyone needs something, though. They need to have a guiding light of like the otherness. What context are we in, right?
Yeah.
The existential dread of existence. So some people went to cults.
Sure.
Image.
Yeah.
Look up our episode.
Yeah. Shout out.
Or just being on drugs or being nihilistic or getting, And so what I'm saying is that a weird thing happened accidentally. The mass culture said God is dead, everybody. And all these young people were like, oh, okay. And so what does that mean? Like, what do you do with all that freedom? And what do you fill it with? And very often it was filled with instant gratification and empty feelings and empty moments with strangers fucking and doing weird drugs and
Snuff
being very
films.
lost. And and like I feel like a lot of that continues today.
Sure.
Like just like your average lost person today.
Right.
I'm not saying that I believe in God, and I'm not saying I believe in organized religion, but when you pull it out, there's suddenly nothing there except crass consumerism, selfishness,
social media, yeah,
and crass consumerism, selfishness, and instant gratification, and that is what you see in this film. And he says that essentially, he's like, I don't care what's on TV,
right?
Because that's what you're getting from TV. It's not just sex, like, oh, everybody have sex, teenagers sing, but it's also just like party, fuck up, drink, and it's like, is this going to fill the need of a human soul to understand maybe they're part of humanity and the universe? And so that's my soapbox. And
there you go.
No, but really, Schrader, that's tricky. People don't get into that stuff in
no,
Hollywood.
it's definitely something he's into. Yeah, go ahead, Marcus.
Well, I think for him, it's like, it is so personal, like, because it's set in Grand Rapids. That's where he's from. In the beginning, we see like that the factory shots. He worked at that factory, this household that we see. Those are members of his family. Like his mom's there.
Mm-hmm.
These are like Thanksgiving Day memories for him of things that happened, that him sitting around the table as a young boy watching his dad talk about religion or whatever, and then them having the TV on, but having this, he did say his uncle said that exact thing, walked in and said, like, the TV is made by people who couldn't make it here in Grand Rapids, and they move out to Hollywood, and I didn't like them here. I don't like him out there either. He said that's an exact quote from his Uncle Joe, which is amazing because it's like, of course, it's a quote. It's a sort of an attack on what Schrader did with his life, which is move out to Hollywood and make movies. But
right.
I feel like he's straddling both those things. But he's straddling both. It's his life, well, sure. I mean, I think for him, it's like he still loved his parents and loved his upbringing, and that was still a part of him. He didn't just full on reject it, He put his parents in the movie. His dad, I guess, was like really critical of his films. Like
I bet.
His dad hated his movies, but he said his dad kept his movies kept the VHS tapes like sealed. He was proud of his son that his son made movies, but didn't like to watch them.
Wow.
And he did say, he said he asked his dad if he saw Hardcore, and he said yes. And I'm so glad that your mom died before she got a chance to see it.
Oh snap!
That's like,
but
John
I feel
Waters,
like he still had a connection to that life.
Sure.
Is what I'm saying, basically.
So and one other thing too about that first 15 minutes too is I'm glad it's quiet. And it's very sort of languidly paced as well too, because it is sort of this like, here's this tension, that's there. That's going to suggest through the sort of like frigidity of it all that there's a volcano underneath brewing.
Well, the first crack you see is the teenage girls talking about like getting felt up by a boy.
Okay, that scene is incredible. I want to talk about that. So that scene, when you really get to see his daughter. Now I was confused. That is her friend, right? The blonde.
Well, the blonde girl is the daughter of it's like her cousin, because it's like
her cousin.
The daughter of his brother.
Okay, because they have to be family, because there's some family interaction.
It's family, but it's like cousins.
Is it Dick Sargent's daughter or something? Maybe.
Yes, it is.
Oh wow. Oh,
because they're posing together in Christmas.
Oh wow. Okay. So right. That's right. So anyway, so you have a scene where obviously they're going away to this sort of church getaway, and they're off there and they're in church, and then there's a scene where I guess they're sort of, this is the way that Schrader's going to sort of frame her, curiosity, promiscuity, in terms of as she's becoming a mature person and feeling the sexual, feelings and whatnot. And it's like this idea of like playing chicken with the boys, where they're going to outline and get closer to your breast, until, it's and the way that that's framed, that feels like something out of a fucking Romare film, it really does, or something, it feels such like a European, but it's such a great way, because we go only from that scene, which is pretty restrained. That's the only hint we get that she's got something else on her mind before she completely disappears into the snuff underground.
Bangs.
Yeah, gang bangs.
In Van Nuys Boulevard.
Which is incredible, yeah. And of course, he finds out she went missing on the trip, and boom, cut. We're going right to LA. 15 minutes into the movie,
she ran off with an older boy at Knott's Berry Farm.
That's right. And cut 15 minutes in, we're already in LA. So even though Schrader's got that sense of pace locked in, 15 minutes, we're in LA. It's great. And George C. Scott meets with the cop, the sort of detective assigned to the case, and just shout out to this detail. Wow, the casting of that guy with
Incredible.
a very disturbing gray colored scar on his head with a complete one bloodshot red eye. Like this guy had been like survived an axe attack at one point in his life or something.
Like recently survived an attack or something.
Yeah. And it just is like, that's great, like WTF casting. We're like, what the fuck's up with that guy?
Nobody mentions it.
Nobody mentions it. Yeah. It's
sorry
like,
about the eye.
Yeah, what the fuck? But it's obvious they're not doing much. And of course, George C. Scott then meets with Peter Boyle, of course. Shout out. You know, great. We love him. Shout out to our Joe episode in the archives. But yeah, so he's the sort of sleazy private investigator in this film, and he's like, "Don't worry, I got it. I'm used to this. I'm all over it. You go home, okay?" And so then George C. Scott goes back home, and he's just dwelling on this, and even his friends are like, "You gotta just like, you know, you can't be obsessed with where she is all the time. You're gonna have to trust in God and trust in Peter Boyle, you know, and all this sort of, you know, like
that's another thing that connects as a taxi driver, by the way.
Is Peter Boyle.
Head is just Peter Boyle's
the wizard
presence. Yeah,
the wizard. The wizard. And so then, of course, Peter Boyle returns in a fury to Grand Rapids, and he's like, "You got to meet me right away." And this is one of the best scenes in the film, for my money.
Well, this is one of the big scenes in cinema history.
It is. It really is.
This is like really iconic.
This is amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I believe that the trailer, I might be wrong, but I believe that the trailer, when it came out, is only this scene.
Oh,
and then it cuts to like hardcore. Starts Friday.
That's great. The poster is so great too, where it's just like a black frame and it says like, "Oh my God, that's my daughter."
Exactly.
And
that's how they led the promo of this film, is this scene.
Incredible marketing choice by whoever the fuck came up with that poster.
I know, right?
Where it's just like a little tiny square of George C. Scott's face and then big text quote.
Huge text.
Oh my God, that's my daughter. Wow.
And then the title, of course.
I know,
those three elements together, and you don't need to show anything else.
That is 10 out of 10 marketing right there.
Really fun movie to research too. You know, when you're Googling hardcore, like
great SEO, great SEO that film had. Yeah. So anyway, okay. So basically, Peter Boyle's like, "Hey, you ever seen any pornographic movies before? You know,
I mean, stag films.
Yeah, stag films.
You know what a hardcore movie is?
Yeah, it's like a stag film, huh?
Yeah.
and
I heard about that at the barracks. Yeah. You know, in the big war,
right? In the Korean War, and so and Peter Boyle brings him into the theater, like this local Scuzz Bucket theater.
The Grand Rapids Porno Theater.
Yeah, amazing.
Get that in your head.
And this is just immediately. It's like, again, you know, outside of everything of, you know, Schrader's writing ability, basing it on, you know, his own experiences, whatnot. It's just a fucking great premise. This is a great premise.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting. He has no idea what he's about to see. And, you know, Peter Boyle hits the lights and let's you know, thread it up, and he plays the film.
Like, oh, there's my daughter. Oh, she's taking her clothes off. Up, she's doing that. Up, she's being done this way. Up, and then the boiling rage. Can you imagine anybody else in this role?
No,
you know,
no.
Who else could fucking tear shit up?
No,
and like I said, fucking
Alan Alda was supposed to be, you know,
dude. Actually, Warren Beatty was supposed to be.
That's right. I think I remember.
That's so wrong. Yeah. No, but like no one could have murked the seat in front of him the way.
No, that is his again. His pacing in that performance of going from rage to deep sadness, back to rage,
hiding his head
and hiding his head. And he gets that, like, that physical anger of like punching things, throwing things, being destructive so well. Like the inner, you can see it, the wheel spinning in his head. And that's when you know when there's a great performance.
Can I just say, forget for a moment that he's this extreme Christian, this Calvinist. How about just any dad?
Sure. Yeah.
Like watching your daughter like sucking guys off.
Yeah. OnlyFans.
Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. I don't have kids, but it's just like, whoa. Like,
it's hard.
Oh.
It's brutal. Yeah, as a parent, it does sink in. It makes it even more brutal. There's a great, Paul Schrader tells a nice little anecdote about shooting that scene because George C. Scott, I guess, he would only do like a couple takes because he said, it'll never be any different. So he'd only do like 2 takes of anything. But
wow.
He said for this, like, he said, I'll do this once, just the emotional thing. And he did the whole thing, you know, and then whatever, went on for like however long they did it, 5 minutes or something. And then he like wiped his eyes and was like, all right, how was that?
Yeah,
You know,
right.
like-
Good? Is that good enough for you?
Yeah.
Asshole.
What's for lunch?
Yeah, what's for lunch? Right. So,
Carrabba's.
all right. Yeah. Oh no, chicken
Hey-o.
Brian. All right. And then of course they adjourn to the theater, outside the theater, and they start talking about
The
it.
lobby, yeah.
The lobby. Thank you very much. And he's like, well, he asks if it can be traced, and then Peter Boyle says,
Nobody makes it. Nobody shows it. Nobody sees it. It's like it doesn't even exist.
You know I love that.
"Yeah, I know."
Like a red Super 8mm reel,
Yeah.
or whatever, like just like mysteriously appearing.
That should
it
be
did have a name though. It did have the name.
Oh yeah, what was it?
This week it was like slave something, right?
Oh yeah,
Love
Slaves-
Slave.
Love Slave. Yeah, that tagline should be the EXP TV tagline. Anyway,
100%.
yeah. So then, as we said, call back to earlier, smash cut to L.A. porno gangbang film set scene, which it's hard not to think about. Boogie Nights, of course. I'm sure that Paul Thomas Anderson was taking notes as he saw that, because when you see that producer, those two producer sleazoid director producer guys talking to each other, you're like, that kid, he's got a big schlong,
Kid's got a big schlong. Great talent.
And then like the other guy's like, that kid's a good director, UCLA.
Kid's a good director. UCLA.
UCLA.
Right.
Alan did.
That's where Schrader went to school too.
Oh,
Right,
perfect. And of course, I'm sure there's so many. He's trying to make like jabs at like being whored out for
Right.
films and what the business is doing.
But
to
it's
people.
but it's accurate. I mean, a
It is
lot of
accurate,
film
yeah.
students made porno.
Oh yeah, well that too. So that scene's incredible and funny. And the dialogue is funny, whether it's intentional or not. It's a great scene. And then, of course, George C. Scott busts in on Peter Boyle doing research, quote unquote, busting him sleeping with this other woman, which is just amazing. I don't know.
Yeah, like hooking up with this porn starlet. It's like she might have some info. I'm doing research.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Which is not, there it is.
Sorry.
Yeah, which is not necessarily untrue. And then we cut to what I like to call the 1 fucking hour
Intro.
opening credits.
Yeah.
The montage.
Goddamn orange peel beef.
Yeah.
An incredible montage of a long gone Hollywood, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, because I was just, that's the other thing I was
Yeah.
watching today. And like, I work on Hollywood Boulevard. And so I'm there like a lot. And it's just like, there's nothing even resembling like those endless porno palace-y kind of places and, strip
Right.
clubs. And
It reminds me of Vice Squad or Foxes.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, to whole Vice Squad.
Isn't
No,
she
but what
in
is
Vice Squad? Nikki's in Vice Squad, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, she is.
Yes, Susan Hubley. Yeah, yeah, totally. Right, and Escape from New York.
Escape
no,
from
but
New
like,
York.
but like no, and like kind of like those like establishments where it's like this is like body to body, like male to female wrestling.
Yes. Yeah, right.
All those places are gone.
Yeah, totally. That scene's great too, where he comes in and he meets with that woman in that female wrestling, whatever the fuck that's like, whatever that deal is. And
There are several scenes where he's getting the lay of the land, like it's $25 a minute, like
Yeah.
like almost
Yeah.
there's like
For
3
token.
scenes like that.
I love how
Wild
he's,
Marys.
Token economy.
Wild
Right.
Marys. That's what
Wild
it is.
Marys, and of course, I got to say, one of my favorite on the nose, like lovably on the nose shots, is a place called Stairway to Love, and you see him walking up the stairs to Stairway to Love.
Yes.
Because it's like Stairway to Heaven and like the Ascension, but it's of course hell and
It's amazing.
Palace of the Flesh.
There's so many great.
good visual
Yeah.
symbolism.
Oh, it's a real graphic designer, love fest movie with all
Yes.
the painted exteriors of these places.
Great.
All the magazine covers, the books, they're all vintage. So if you ever collected this stuff, as you'd be
Yeah,
go after
it's a
this era
snapshot.
anyway,
It's a snapshot of a time and a
Yeah.
place. And we'll get into it, but the end of the film with all those runes.
Oh, I would. Yeah.
made
I'm
of,
excited
like,
to talk about that.
I'm just saying the look, talking about like
We'll get there.
look-see stuff.
We'll get
Those-
there. We'll get there.
The different
that's
bars, the Star Wars bar too, with the one with the
Right,
two women
exactly.
fighting with the lightsabers.
And
Yeah.
the Princess Leia buns. Yeah.
Yeah,
I must say there's kind of, I always was a little I remember as a kid vaguely I saw this still, it's George C. Scott in the morning after all this cruising around looking for his daughter. And like there's this really was a thing. It's a big Hustler magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Billboard.
Yeah.
And it's really gross. You know, it's because it says Think Pink in huge letters. Now, Think Pink is this old 50s thing, which I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like some advertising campaign for like, I don't know, like Revlon, some kind of women's stuff. And so it's being grotesquely
reappropriated.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so I don't know.
It's right across the street from the Hustler building too, right? So isn't it like a continuous shot, like from him? Like
that's when he goes into. That's right before he goes in to meet with the producer to try and pitch him that he can finance the film.
But
like on Sunset Boulevard.
If I can be, I just want to be a feminist ally for 1 second. And I'm kind of not kidding, but I'm just saying that like I sometimes wonder like, what if you're a woman and you're like going to work and you're waiting at the bus or something, and it's like this huge block, these huge block letters are just like, you're fucking pussy. And it's like, that sucks. Like, see, what I'm saying is like, okay, like sexual freedom and stuff really can devolve into just like, you're pink pussy. Like, you know, it's like the size of a bus. It's like, well, hey, I don't know, that sucks.
Well, Hustler really was leading the charge to like kind of make it grosser and dumb things down and be provocative. I know,
but I'm just saying that like it was okayed by like LA County. Like,
I know, and then just 6 months later, you have to stare at a fucking paste up of the Maniac poster.
Yeah, exactly. It just feels a little. It just I could see being a little sickened by like people kind of abusing like all these newfound freedoms within the last 10 years, and it just gets reduced to just like, you're fucking pussy.
Okay,
you know,
I got it.
I think that sucks. I think it sucks. So I don't know. That kind of chilled me, and I thought it was a nice touch of Schrader. to frame that shot.
Sure.
Of George.
Well, speaking of that shot, so now he's posing as a financier of porno films, and
that's my Halloween costume.
I know, it's fantastic. he goes in as Mr. DeFreeze or DeVries.
Right. Now,
Mr. Porn producer.
Yeah.
Obvious wig.
Well, that's later on.
Okay. You're going really slowly. Okay, all right.
Well, I'm just trust me. You're going to want to talk about this. I know you. He goes in to talk about trying to invest in a porno film. Of course, he's undercover to try and get more information about his daughter. He meets this really sleazy guy. Oh, I can't remember his name. Bill is the director or the producer, and it's a great little scene before he walks in.
Kind of more Boogie Nights vibes.
Totally. He's asking his subordinate Tom to read the theatrical grosses in all the different markets around the nation, but we really both we're humping for this guy because
like all three of us, maybe the Marty Fufkin of hardcore.
I know, Marty Fufkin. Yeah, totally. He was the Marty Fufkin.
Kick my ass.
I said Sean Penn Carlito's Way a little too. He's a little bit of both.
A combo, and you're all set. You're this guy. Yeah.
But he's just like, what do we do in Detroit? We did 5-2. You know,
we pushed a lot of units out there.
Units,
or whatever. Yeah,
it's an amazing little moment. I love it. It's amazing. So anyway,
there's actually, if I might, let's get really uncool here, but it's like there's an implied like evil Jewish like pornographer kind of thing, like greedy, like hey, we're trying to like move some product here, right? With like gold chains. I don't know. It feels like Jewish sleaze coded to me.
Well,
I don't care.
There's an interesting thing about that scene too, where it's like, again, I think a lot of scenes in this film have their bizarro world Grand Rapids sort of scene, where it's like earlier in the film when you do get to see George C. Scott's, he works at the factory. You could tell he's a businessman. He knows how to run a business, and he's talking with his marketing director about like what his logo is going to look like and all this stuff. But with this scene, it's like he probably never thought in his mind like that there's a business surrounding stag films. So I think there is sort of a curiosity that's forming. And one thing I would say about this film, and maybe we're going to, at some point we'll touch on some dings we feel about this movie, but I could also see in an alternate world as an approach with this film, because it teeters on the edge with the relationship with Nikki that we'll get into. But it's like there is this seductive nature about everything that this world, as he's getting deeper into it, it's like a kind of like in a cruising sort of way, where Al Pacino, like in that film, kind of loses his identity, and now the lines are blurred. It's gray now, and what the fuck am I? What's my sexuality?
It can swallow you up, man.
It can swallow you up. I kind of wanted George to be swallowed a little. Into
I know
this,
that would have been an interesting
awakening,
like third act. To get tempted by Nikki.
By Nikki,
more like because that's actually talk about like Greek Roman myth. Like he would be tempted and fall from grace.
He starts to wear those Hawaiian shirts well. He starts to kind of fit. He looks like he starts to fit in that world by the end of the movie.
I know, he really wears it nicely. So I was kind of thinking about that there is a curiosity with him into how all this stuff works. And I think that's...
There's a cosplay hardcore you can have in your mind. Sure.
But so now his best cosplay... His best cosplay is
let's go.
His disguise as the casting agent, which is fucking phenomenal. With the
talk about comedy,
it is. It's
that's
incredible.
like Cheech and Chong movie comedy almost.
It is. Yeah,
it really is like Cheech and Chong, like Up in Smoke. It's like okay, so I'm breaking it down. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So and this is actually a beautiful thing. This is why you gotta love film. Like this straight-laced, very religious guy from the middle of nowhere, has to figure out.
I love that.
So let's break it down. So he's like, all right.
I love that
tie-dyed shirt.
Yeah,
tie-dyed t-shirt. Let's fucking go. Gold chain. Everybody's wearing those. Let's fucking go.
Yep.
I need to have a shitty, obvious toupee and a big Harry Reams mustache.
It's amazing. I love it.
And then you're all set.
And that's such a fun thing to have in a movie. This idea,
it's great.
It's like we always talk about like how. Like with Death Wish 3, how they got Punk so wrong because they don't know anything about it, and that's kind of similar to how this character is in this movie.
The character's Death Wish 3 ain't.
It is, the
like, porn industry. Yeah, exactly.
Right,
But I gotta say, one of my favorite things is the montage of like job applicants in movies, where it's like I want to be your nanny for your kid, and it's like they're too tall, they're too weird.
Well, that was last week with the Corys. Yeah.
Exactly. But in this one, it's like, I want to be in your porno movie. And of course, and I saw this when I was a kid on cable, and this was something that me and my friends would also say down the halls constantly, which is, I'm Big Dick Black. I got a 9-inch dick on me. That's incredible. That really gooses the movie.
What a fucking cameo. Yeah.
That
incredible.
gooses the movie.
It is, yeah. I know. But
then there's the other stuff like, don't you want to see my junk, dude?
Oh, dude, that moment.
He's kind of Corey Heyman. He's kind of Corey like Rough Trade Corey.
Oh, no. But that fucking... But his... George C. Scott's performance and his reaction to that guy.
Yes.
Like, don't you want to see what I got here? My package or whatever. And he's like...
Yeah.
All right, let's see. It's just like...
Right.
It's
kind of went out. He didn't need to at that. He didn't need to...
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because he didn't need to do it at that point. He's just kind of throwing that kid a bone or something. I don't know.
But
like,
no, I think he wanted to seem somewhat authentic.
No, he did.
Word was getting out.
But he nailed it.
Word was getting out, yeah.
But he nailed the apathetic genital viewing. That is
an actor assignment. That is an actor assignment unlike any other.
Yes.
No one else has had to go, like, all right, give me your best staring at a dick unwillingly and having to give faint approval. Like, what other movie scene that's that? Like, okay, all right, that sure is your penis. Give me a drop.
Right. Oh, well, sorry. There you go. I love it. But then of course, we meet my favorite. It kind of reminds me of The Boyfriend and Joe a little bit. We meet Jism Jim.
Dude, he's very Joe Boyfriend.
Joe Boyfriend.
That guy sucks.
And he sucks so bad. And
his hair sucks.
Yeah, and again, great
his
casting.
Face is weird.
They
He's very cruising, actually.
He is. But it's also like perfect casting. Like that is a face you want to smash with a light, with a lamp.
Yeah.
That is like
come on, man.
Yeah,
man,
lamp smashing face.
Like, come on, man. I want a ball. Let's make some money.
Yeah, right.
So gross.
Yeah.
The hair is really the half of it's the hair.
Yeah, it is. The hair, the pizza face, everything. Yeah. And then it's amazing when like it's such a weird choice too, like in the script and the writing, when right before George C. Scott like attacks him with the lamp, he's like talking about his daughter, and he's like, yeah, man, she was one freaky bitch. My prick was so red and itchy.
My prick was so red and sore and chewed out, I couldn't walk for a goddamn week. Ah!
After that shit,
she chewed my dick up.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
and then
That's what
no,
makes
but
him
what's
snap.
so funny is that before you see his hand gesturing to the lamp, you know that's going to happen.
Yeah, of
like you're
course.
hearing, like,
Oh,
you
it's
chewed my
great.
cock up, dude.
Great.
And it's like he's like, oh, you're the guy. She bitch chewed your cock up. Okay, cool. All right,
Yeah.
look at this lamp.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Dude.
And then that's we're talking about rage. He could have killed that guy. You know.
Yeah, dude,
Like in his actions, or he could have been followed through and just
totally,
like ended
which is
in,
very
like
Joe
Scarface style.
very
you know?
Joe core in that moment.
Very
too.
Joe coded.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Joe core. But yeah, so what happens is like, and again, the shot to show the lamp, to foreshadow the lamp before it happens. Great move.
Classic.
But then it's like to make the choice to verbally say that this woman, made my prick so red and itchy. Then what does that do? Like, how far has she fallen, bro? Like, what is going on with her?
He's talking about like chewing too. Or
Yeah,
something.
it's like
she was crazy. She was crazy.
It's theater of the mind in terms of like what's awaiting me when I find her.
What's her day been
would have-
like usually?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get into what we'll talk about it maybe hopefully at the end, like what the original ending was, but that really would have multiplied with it too.
Absolutely.
That your mind would just keep building and building and building, wondering what happened to her.
Absolutely.
Well, let's power through it. So he meets season.
I do want to just I'm so sorry. One little detail in that scene I wanted to put just a little cap on is it's amazing when he throws him in the shower and he's questioning him, spraying the water on him. Great little George C. Scott performance moment when it holds on him after he beats up the guy. He tears the wig off, tears the mustache off, tears the necklace off.
Right.
And then just fucking like punches and kicks a wall or something. It's really great. It's an amazing, like, I believe that man's rage 100%.
Yeah, very convincing.
And the guy, and we're okay with it as the audience because like they made an underage movie or whatever. It's like we're watching like To Catch a Predator, basically, with some violent extrajudicial justice.
Yes, deathly stringing on him.
Yeah.
So
he goes to San Diego.
So moving forward.
Yeah, he meets.
So he meets up with Susan Hubley. I really want to emphasize. I'm very impressed by her performance. She's really lived in. I think it's undercredited. She's an undercredited actress. And so he meets a woman who says she's got a line on the last dude who was seen with his daughter.
Right.
So they go to San Diego. She's wearing a fucking Quaaludes t-shirt.
I know. Shout out.
I gotta get one of those. Roarer.
I love her
714.
hair. It's like kind of messy and scraggly, and like I just made me think about today. Everything would be like some shitty wig or like perfect hair, And I loved how her hair was like very realistic.
She's kind of out of Foxes. We should do Foxes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
So this is where we're circling back to where we were before. These really interesting philosophical questions of God and faith and sin and
morality,
all that stuff. So we got into that before, but those are they were surprising to me. That he went there and that they were so well executed because that's tricky for both actors.
Yeah, and it also kind of like challenges. By making her a 3-dimensional character, which I think she is in this film, because she's given her backstory. She makes comments regularly to him like, you think I just suck guys off all day? Which I love.
What do you think I do? Just suck off guys all day? You think I'm just a fuck face?
Like you just think I'm a fuck face? And she challenges him and shows she can go toe to toe with those headier conversations. She's interested in that. She's interested in him, and so I think it's interesting.
I was thinking of Iris from Taxi Driver.
Absolutely,
written by Paul Schrader.
Totally,
because they both have like a dippy sort of vague. New age philosophy, religion.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh my like you're such a Virgo, and she's like, I'm a Venusian, and that gets back to what I was saying. To be tedious, it's like when God dies, all these like half-assed, half-eaten, vague things happen to put your place in the universe, and that's where a lot of these lost people are. And that was another good depiction of that, by her.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then following her, he's led into the world of the very hot topic of
snuff film, which is
incredible.
Which is something we've talked a lot about on this channel.
But this is the only major Hollywood film that addressed the topic where you see like a projection on the wall of a snuff film, and it was such a hot topic. There was
I love that thing too where they project onto him while he's watching it. That gag that they use with the light gag where they project onto the person watching, so you can still kind of see the film.
So this was in the zeitgeist since 1976 with the release of that goofy, very fake film, Snuff, and it's depicted through all kinds of exploitation films and this and that. But this was a major, watch the matinee, Hollywood film that dealt with this topic where people end people's lives. It's filmed.
So dark.
And then people pay $1,000. Like there's 5 people in folding chairs
to watch. Yeah.
$100 watching people's lives ending,
Right.
And we go right there with them. And you got to think about this too, because he is a very religious person and he's watching the end of people's lives as entertainment. Forget pornography. And he's like, well, there is a hell on earth, and these are devils. Yeah. This is Satan's work. Yeah. And can you argue with him?
Yeah, I know. And it's and again it shows, wow, this is the depth of depravity that my daughter has fallen to, which is pretty unfathomable for him.
Yeah. The ninth circle of hell.
And
it's sallow.
Yeah, sallow time.
Right.
And we'll sort of get into the set piece of what this facility looks like in a second. But it's also keep in mind, this is years before Videodrome, 4 years before Videodrome as well, too. So this is a very shocking world to be shown in a film, as we've said.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess the adult film industry was protesting this film afterwards because they didn't like the association with the snuff film,
Right. I could see that.
Because it is sort of an urban myth, right? That they even existed, which is, it's kind of interesting that that this movie is because the realism of the Grand Rapids stuff, and then you compare it to the sort of almost fantastical seediness of the underworld.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because it's amazing. The production design of this facility that he's chasing Todd into or whatever.
I love Todd. Yes, this
I love Todd's look.
This succession of cardboard wall, glory hole, BDSM fantasy worlds of green and purple rooms.
I like the mid.
What's your favorite room?
My favorite room is sort of the I don't know, French bed with the guy in a straight jacket.
It's kind of the end of 2001.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Crashing through the walls is that dream logic thing, that is.
Well, so that's the thing. We were talking about is this inspired filmmaking on Schrader's part? Maybe not compared to Martin Scorsese, but that is very inspired to have a chase happen through cardboard walls, going through successive different
nightmares.
Hell on earth
nightmares,
like sexual indulgent fetish rooms.
That's amazing.
This is the scat room and it's purple, and this is the gay biker beating studded dildo room. It's blue.
It's
and
awesome.
it's just how he tears through them.
It's amazing.
Literally he's chasing the guy's tearing through them, and George is following and tearing through the walls of degradation.
It's amazing.
It's great visually is what I'm saying.
It is. It's great. It's so cool. I mean, it is funny that this movie just kind of, devolves into, just an action, big old action set piece, for
Chase the bad guy
thing. But it does work on that sort of visual metaphor level too,
It's interesting, all the gelled lighting and stuff,
Yeah.
It's one thing that stuck out to this movie is it feels so 70s to me. It's 79. It feels really 70s. And then American Gigolo, which is just the year later, feels very so 80s.
Yeah, totally.
It almost feels like there's a 10-year gap between these two movies.
I think half of it's the music.
It is. Well, that's
definitely
big, for sure.
When that ice cold Tangerine Dream stuff happens.
Oh, definitely.
So
with
changes
the
everything.
Marauder and
TD.
Yeah, but this one, the music's so good in this one too. Just shout
I
out
wanted to
Jack
talk about the
Nietzsche.
music.
Oh God,
yes.
Oh,
so
right.
cool.
Yeah, right. Let's not forget.
Yeah, the fucking music throughout this whole thing is so crazy. It goes from we mentioned this before we started recording. There's an amazing set piece when he's walking through the seedy streets of San Diego, and it's just this inappropriately too loud guitar solo. That's playing.
You're
too
twice
close to the mic. Yeah.
I had to turn my shit down. I was like, oh, it was just
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
There's a time when there's two songs playing at once. Like he goes into a bar and they're listening to a blues song, but then the soundtrack music continues to play and they're kind of bleeding into each other.
Oh my God, yeah.
But I got to say, like earlier, part of him going through the slime city of Hollywood Boulevard, it's amazing. So this is Jack Nietzsche, who was involved in the Performance soundtrack.
Yeah, shout out. We did that episode.
Shout out to our episode. And he reworked one of the songs from Performance.
That's so cool.
Poor Hound Dog is this instrumental from Performance. And it's essentially the same, but it's like kind of like a little more revved up.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, like 1979 version. It's killer. It never had a proper soundtrack release, but people did in the past few years release a CD and a vinyl. Yeah, and I would pick that up. I don't have that yet, but like all the music's great. Jack is a bit of a genius, a troubled genius.
Yeah.
Worked with Harry Nilsson and part of the
Phil
Laurel
Spector.
Canyon world.
One really just real quick soundtrack moment that I just want to hit real quick is towards the end of the film where we were, the escape from the snuff cafe, is when he lays eyes on Rattan and he sees Rattan and he sees his daughter for the first time. And then Rattan, and he has a knife, right? And like he has a knife, and he comes out. And then Peter Boyle's there. He shoots Rattan, and then Rattan has this amazing moment where he's just like doing that, like I just been shot, and I'm walking, and I'm gonna fall in like 20 seconds from now,
which is kind of Scarface-y.
It is Scarface. And then he smashes into this like porno theater display, and the fucking synth warbles during that part are very cool.
Great.
And
kind of cruising.
It is cruising, but like him, just that visual metaphor of him like smashing through the industry itself.
There's like a bloody corpse in front of like like 6 erotic live acts posters. Like
very cool.
That's really the heart of the film.
Yeah,
there's a dope music drop in the beginning too, all quiet in the Grand Rapids area where he's walking through the snow, and there's just sort of like chimey type things. And I guess
it's like
like
church music.
But they're but done on wine glasses.
Oh, okay. Like it's cool. It's a cool touch.
Like choral,
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Lots of great music.
Trouble Genius, Jack Nietzsche, the Loneliest Surfer.
So
and I'm glad he's part of it. He actually did the theme song to Blue Collar. Schrader's previous film.
We'll get that.
The great theme song with what do you call it? Captain Beefheart.
We got to end it here because the ending of the film, we've talked about it already. It is amazing. Of course, that's sort of that moment between Nikki and George C. Scott where he's like, Nikki baby, I'm sorry, whatever. He calls her Nikki baby, which is amazing. But then of course that pain on her face and that whole thing, it's a great moment. But it was not the original ending. The original ending that he wrote that John Milius thought was a better ending was the idea that he never finds his daughter. Dude. And it ends in just sort of like he finds out, I guess, that she dies in a car accident. But that's some dark 70s shit, where it's like
that's the darkest hue of 70s. Yeah.
And just never finding her. That would have been wild.
I might have preferred that, because
I would agree.
This film it has a somewhat conventional ending. I mean, if you look at it, it's just like
10
saves the girl, kills the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess the studio forced them to change the ending. They said they do it that way.
Oh, okay.
And it's a studio ending. Fuck that shit.
All right.
Star Wars,
Studios suck.
No Star Wars studio ending.
All right, that's it, everybody.
Great film.
Just
great film.
Barely got it
See
in
it
there.
if you haven't. Revisit it.
Yes.
Hardcore.
There you go, everybody. Stuff. 1 fucking hour in hardcore. I think we did it. We barely got it in, but we got it. I think, great gem, of course, of the 70s.
Yeah.
I'm sure eventually we're going to get to, some of his other films. Weren't we talking about autofocus the other day, too?
We were. Good call. I forgot that's him, too.
Yeah.
We were underrated 2000s-y movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I rewatched autofocus recently, and I've always really liked it. Because you can't lose. It's such a great subject. And in a weird way, it's perfect Paul Schrader bait.
It is.
The depiction of the guy from Hogan's Heroes was a porn addict who was butchered by his porn buddy.
Insane.
His head was bashed in a motel, still unsolved,
Yeah. So, maybe,
I'd like to revisit that.
Yeah, I me too. I think it might be interesting. So I'm sure there'll be more Schrader down the line.
Schrader shredding.
Schrader shredding. So let's quickly wrap things up here and talk about next week. Next week is very special. I'm very excited. Who would have thought that we would have done 2 one fucking season episodes sandwiched between, I guess, another film.
Hardcore sandwich.
The hardcore sandwich. So we are doing another episode of One Fucking Season. I can't even believe that.
And it's our third of this gentleman's work.
It is. Obviously,
we're really big fans.
We are. I mean, everybody's talking about it. It just wrapped up. Of course, we're talking about season 2 of The Rehearsal by Nathan Fielder just wrapped up. So people have been curious, hitting us up in the comments and the DMs if we're going to cover it. Of course we are.
Of course.
So next,
all over it.
Next week is One Fucking Season on The Rehearsal season 2. So if you haven't seen it yet, definitely get over to Max and
start watching.
Yeah, start watching. So
I think it's called HBO Max again.
They're bringing it back.
Right.
They're bringing it back. That's right.
Bring back HBO.
HBO.
That was stupid, wasn't it?
That was so stupid.
That was bad. Yeah.
Bad move. Yeah. Brand killer.
Let's take this like great brand and just forget about it.
I know.
He used this generic like energy drink sounding.
Yeah, I know.
That sounds like Cinemax.
Yeah,
I know.
Sounds like
That's
the
what Cinemax was nicknamed like so often.
I know.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? So, yeah, definitely make sure
Rehearsal too.
Watch it, get into it. And I do want to flag 2 things: good news and bad news. I got good news and I got bad news. What do you want first? You want the good news first? The good news is, I guess there's 2 little shreds of good news.
Yeah.
We are going to embark on a new summer series that's coming very soon. Last year we did sort of, what was it? A run of the 90s, right? We did one film from each year of the 90s in a big long summer series.
So fun.
So next week we'll reveal what this new summer series is, but we have a new series, very exciting.
Coming soon.
Yes. So that's awesome. The other little teaser bit of good news is we have a new t-shirt on the way,
Jesus.
which I'm excited to unveil. I think next week we'll be able to properly unveil with the artwork and the pre-order links. It's
awesome.
It's a killer.
You could soon be wearing the most demented t-shirt possible.
Yeah, I know.
like a real question asker, like kind of shit.
I know. Yeah. I really hope it's not too twisted for people to actually order it, but I'm sure we have enough diehards out there that'll make this
only
possible.
the brave and only the brave. Most hardcore fans.
I know, yeah.
They'll jump at it.
Yeah. So
you'll be able to pick it up at Goodwill.
Yeah, afterwards. Right. Or we're gonna bury them in the ocean or something. But pre-order for a new One Fucking Hour shirt should be up next week, and we're gonna unveil on next week's show what it is. That's the good news. The bad news is after next week's show, we're going to go on a little bit of a hiatus for like 2 weeks, I think. So I think we're going to go 2 weeks down. I'm going to be traveling. So if I'm traveling to Europe, if I'm out there, forget about it. We're not recording. I'm not bringing all this shit.
Too many time zones, bro.
Yeah, too many time zones. So I will be out for 2 weeks. So we're going to be 2 weeks down. But then we're going to come back, a big triumphant return. Either we're going to return with a very crazy episode, or it's going to be our summer series. We're going to figure that out. But it'll be a warm welcome return, and it'll be worth the wait. How about that? Okay,
we'll be back.
So there's that, and also quick shout out again to the One Fucking Hour Patreon. We'll definitely need your donations by being down 2 weeks. No, I'm just kidding. But definitely sign up for the One Fucking Hour Patreon, patreon.com/One Fucking Hour. We got the fucking Pizza Man episode up there.
Ooh, everybody's talking about
still
that.
Buzzing on that. We got some amazing shit, bonus episodes.
How about the Beatles show and tell is getting some traction?
Oh, yeah. We just got an email. I got to respond to this person.
Yeah, let's check this shit out, yo.
I will, but I guess somebody who works with Yoko Ono watches our show. And
of course.
And I guess loved the Beatles show and tell episode we did, which is the only way to watch that is up on the Patreon, or if you sign up to become a Momen on the YouTube channel by clicking the join button at our channel homepage. And so, yeah, all great other bonus stuff up there. So if you have not signed up yet to the Patreon or the YouTube channel, and we're down for 2 weeks, that might be the best placeholder for you to go up there and to watch the endless hours that are up there that are not anywhere else.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre full commentary.
That is maybe one of the best things we've done, actually.
That was a hoot.
That was a hoot. So
that's up there.
Blue Velvet soundtrack, Jaws soundtrack, Star Wars soundtrack.
Star Wars.
Psycho 98 audio commentary track is up there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. We did some wild shit.
right.
We did some wild shit.
know.
Yeah, we done some wild shit up there.
Forgot about that. Okay.
So-
yeah, look into it.
So everybody,
while you're taking a 2-week break, catch up on the
there you
bonuses.
go up there. You can even sign up for a month and then get access to all of it.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So, all right, everybody, patreon.com/1fucking-hour. Lots of news, lots of exciting things coming up. Look out for the shirt, and we'll see you next week for the rehearsal. One fucking season, man. Running it back with Nathan Fielder, of course.
With Nathan Fielder, dude.
Very excited. Of course, Ramey Bennett's going to join us for that. And we're going to run it back. And all right, everybody, have a great rest of your week. But of course, we can't leave you without your Momen of Zen. All right, everybody. We will see you next week. Thanks again. And so long. All right, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Whoop.
Oh my God! It's my father!
Oh my God! It's my daughter!
Hardcore 2. The shocking, sordid story of a teenage daughter's search for her disgusting father, who's being used in a filthy, nauseating way.
If you think that I am gonna let you go out there and parade yourself around those strange men in these... It's going to hurt me to do this.
Well, it hurts me worse than it hurts you.
Oh my God, it's the sequel, Hardcore 2. The film is now the movie. Coming soon to a theater near you.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.